Hey everybody, it is Nikhil and I'm back with another reaction video today. Today we are going to be watching a series that I've been watching on my own, but I haven't seen the newest one that has come out, so we're going to watch that together today. This is Hannah Alonso's channel. It is the Influencer Insanity series. This will be episode 8, American Family Road Trip. Family vloggers, 10 people living in a bus. And I love this series. So just like how influencers be lying about things, or the things that they're doing to make money that may not be the best, borderline maybe illegal, especially with like the kids that are being forced to work on these YouTube channels and TikToks and all of that. And just like people just having too many items, like the organized queens you be seeing on TikTok, where they just be buying all this stuff and putting it in organizers and stuff. Just all those type of things. She like to discuss them and go in depth about them. So this is episode 8 and we're going to watch it together. So let's see what's going on.
Some may be quick to say that it's none of the viewers' business how they live their life, but if they're making a significant amount of money off of their children and off of the lifestyle they're forcing the children to live, then I would argue that it is the viewers' business to understand fully what their viewership is supporting and funding. These are 2 adult influencers who have made it their job to have as many children as possible, cram them into a tiny bus, drag them all around the country, and then make them rehearse and perform in front of a camera every single day so that mom and dad can post it on social media for hundreds of thousands of strangers to consume as content. It's not hard to understand how that's problematic on at least some level, and we should absolutely be side-eyeing it and asking questions. Picture this: I was minding my own business, rotting my brain, scrolling Instagram reels one day, as one does, and much to my displeasure, I come across this video.
Wouldn't lie to you, doesn't matter what I do. She's got a hold on me. She knows how to drive a truck, but she lets me pick her up when we're going dancing. My heart stops beating when my headlights shining on her. She's my country girl.
I'm sorry, how many kids are you cramming into a bus and you live in this bus full time? My main question is why?
Where are their beds? I didn't see. Were they all sleeping up on the couches? Maybe it's like pullouts or anything, but where you don't have any privacy. But again, another one of her videos was like, they just be lying. Like the influencers just be lying. Maybe they do this, like they live in a house, then they go to the bus and record content. Like that'd be a thing too. I don't know. I ain't seen this creative, but that's so crazy.
And the longer I scrolled on their account trying to find answers, the more and more questions I was left with. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Influencer Insanity. My name's Hannah and this is a series on my channel where we cover all things influencer and social media culture. And today we're taking a deep dive into the Instagram account American Family Road Trip. Run by parents JD and Brittany Lott, they're documenting their lifestyle of living full-time in a renovated bus as they travel the country and homeschool their 8 children on the road. Their primary platform is Instagram with 600,000 followers, but they also have a significantly smaller YouTube channel with nearly 4,000 followers. They haven't posted a full-length YouTube video in over 2 years, so I would call that an inactive account. Same thing with their TikTok. They've got 14,500 followers and they haven't posted in over a year. However, their YouTube bio does give some insight into their background. It says, we're a family of 9 with 7 young children in a 200 square foot converted school bus and we wouldn't have it any other way. And actually that piece is outdated. They are a family of 10 with 8 children at this point. Both of us are combat veterans who met in Iraq. Within 5 days of JD returning from deployment, we got married. Several years ago, God convicted us of our worldly, cultural, Christian lifestyle. He had something better. Over a period of 10 months, we converted a school bus into an RV, or a schoolie, sold everything and hit the road to restore focus to our faith and family. Pausing to address this, they say that this is an old school bus known as a schoolie, but in old posts of theirs from 2018, they say that this is an old military bus that they got from a dealer in St. Louis. I'm not sure why that story isn't consistent.
Why would it be in St. Louis? That's where I'm from, y'all, but that's crazy. Is it a school bus or the military bus? Which one?
It's like a weird thing to lie about. It's an old military vehicle. I think I read somewhere that it's an Air Force transport bus, but it seems like they've kind of shifted the story into maybe something more wholesome, that it's like an old school bus that they're now homeschooling their kids in or something. I don't know. A weird discrepancy in the details that I felt the need to point out. The bio then goes on to say, our big family has been on the road homeschooling, doing road school, traveling throughout the USA for almost 4 years. We believe the relationships are the currency of life. Encouraging families to focus on the joy of God's plan feeds our souls. Join us on our bus adventures as we navigate life on the open road, raising our 7 children. Again, this is outdated. They've recently welcomed their 8th child, and I don't think it would come as a surprise to anybody if they had more children in the future. Brittany has had a baby almost every 2 years since 2011. Her newest baby was born in April, and by May, she was already creating content teasing about how they might have another one. But in 2018, they left their suburban life as children's gymnastics franchise owners, living in a 7,000 square foot house in Lubbock, Texas. All because the dad, JD, claimed to have a spiritual awakening in which God, quote, gave him a vision to build an ark, which was their bus. So he communicated this vision from God to his wife, Brittany, saying that they were supposed to live in a bus and that she was supposed to support him through it, even though it sounded crazy because that's what Noah's wife did for him when he was building the ark, you see? And the rest is history. They spent a few months retrofitting this bus to function as a house, and they began their life on the road with their 4 children, and they welcomed 4 additional children into the bus life in the past 6 years. They spent a little bit of time in the bus at first, and then they did a big excursion overseas for a couple of years, and then they came back. And now for the past 4 years, they've been traveling throughout the United States in this bus. This account has over 1,700 posts, nearly every single one of them involving the children and surrounding the themes of having a big family, living life on the road. The children are the backbone of this content, and believe me, we'll get into all the issues with that. But I mention it right now because most of the content they post are like these little dances or skits or viral trends with copyrighted music over it, and the children's faces are in every single video. So I'm going to be doing a ton of blurring to protect the kids' privacy, as well as not playing the audio so that we can avoid any copyright issues. This video is about to take a heavy and concerning turn, so before we do that, I'd love to tell you about today's sponsor that cheers me up on
a heavy and concerning turn. We're gonna see what that's about. But sheesh.
video. Now let's dive into some of American Family Road Trip's most popular content to get a sense for what this account is all about. Every single one of their videos falls under the themes of parading around their 8 children, the sexualization of the parents, and that's how they ended up with 8 children, and how they live a nomadic lifestyle on a bus. Here I have many, many examples for you. This one says, you see a crazy couple with 8 children in a tiny bus. We see our favorite people enjoying life in our home. And the whole family is gathered around to do this choreographed dance, and you can see the mom is...
I know them kids. I'm sorry for pausing. Not really. But I know them kids. They gonna have some problems when they get older. Like as adults, they might not even like kids at all. Like having to be forced around. Again, if this is true, we about to find out. I feel like people just be having houses and going into buses and doing stuff like this because they all be lying. But these people they gonna crave privacy so bad they might just become hermits in the house. Like, you don't know what this psychologically does to a kid to be forced, like stuck in a bus with your family all day. Sleep there. Don't even have a bed. I don't know about the bed situation. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But just off rip, like this is not. I don't know.
Is looking at the children, making sure that everybody's on cue, and then the children are there like concentrating so hard with these lifeless smiles and dead eyes. I know you can't see their faces because I'm blurring them, but believe me, it's disturbing. And that's quite literally what every single video consists of, the children acting out a certain role that their parents have choreographed and directed them to do. This one says, how do 10 people live in a bus? And it's to the song, It's Tricky, Tricky, Tricky. And all the kids run out of the bus, gather together, and dance along while the parents pop out from the sides of the frame. Here's one that says, you travel full-time in a bus and your 8 kids are best friends? We made choices to prioritize their relationships. And the kids are all lip-syncing in unison, and you can tell that they were directed at a certain point in the song to turn to each other and like high five and dance and pretend like they're having so much fun. It's very Black Mirror. Think about what goes into a production like this. One of the parents, likely the mom, comes up with the concept for the video, and then she instructs each kid on their role. They likely have to rehearse it a few times. She puts them in a formation. Okay, you stand here, lip sync these words, do these hand motions, do this dance. All right, everybody, ready, set, action. Oh, nope, that wasn't good enough. Reset, take 2. Bigger smiles, everyone, more enthusiasm. Our 600,000 followers are counting on you for their daily video. There's really not that much difference between what child actors are doing and what these children are doing, except for that child actors get paid and there's laws protecting them. And the thing is, look at these dates on these videos. They post a new video every single day, which means that these kids are likely learning new material and being forced to participate in these videos every single day. Or maybe they batch film them where they spend several hours on one day cranking out a bunch of videos for that week. I'm not sure what's worse. The kids can't possibly be happy doing this, right? Maybe it's fun for the first few videos, but the novelty has gotta wear off at some point. When you're making your kids participate in daily videos for years on end, I'm almost positive they're groaning about it. I know I would be as a kid. If you don't feel sick yet, you're about to. Here's a reel that they posted recently. It's lighthearted. It's a 2 truths and a lie game where they're asking their followers to spot the lie. The whole family, again, gathered around the phone, plastered on smiles, doing choreographed hand motions together. But the thing is, before this version got posted to Instagram, they accidentally posted the unedited version to their Instagram, which thankfully somebody caught it and screen recorded it before it got deleted, and they posted it to the Fundy Snark Uncensored subreddit, which by the way was a fantastic resource for me for this video, so thank you, people of Fundy Snark. And that's where I got this clip to be able to show you. This is the unedited version. In this version, you can see Brittany, the mom, saying, okay, stop, and then hauntingly, most of the kids' faces immediately drop and several of them step out of the frame. Again, the kids' faces are blurred for privacy, obviously, but just look at the parents in slow-mo. That's what the kids are doing too. Look at JD's face. It's like we're on, and hold, and stop. Oh, thank God. It's a complete performance, and this gives us an unsettling peek into what these kids' lives are actually like. Rehearse the role, perform the role for the camera, pretend we're all happy and living the dream, and then return to real life once you played your part in our online fantasy. It's incredibly sad and incredibly exploitative of these children for views. Then there's the questionable videos of the hypersexualization of the father as the baby daddy. Hey kids, gather around for a shot with your dad for this video I'm gonna make about how he put so many babies in me. Like, let's pause and think about that for a second. What message are you communicating right now? This one says, what does your husband do for...
I don't see nothing wrong with that. Cause like, my only concern with this is, again, they all living in this bus, so to speak. I'm telling you, I do not trust nothing people be saying on the internet. I don't. They be lying for views and clicks. It just be lies. But in this situation, like, I don't know. It depends on the circumstance, but I do view like baby daddy as a term of endearment. Like, you know, like, you my husband, we were able to have a kid together. Like, maybe that's just me. I know it has like a negative kind, you know, a negative light on it. But for me, like, it will be with my husband and like my baby's father. Like, they coincide together, so it is like a term of endearment. And like, people do have big families. People value like the family life, but not to this extreme. But some people do, and I don't think it's nothing wrong. 8 kids, I know that sounds like crazy to a lot of people, but if they want to do it, they gonna do it. It's just, it's probably not the best in this situation for sure. But yeah, that's just my take.
For a living, and then all the kids, one after another in birth order, parade across the screen, and it ends by him saying he makes babies. He makes babies for a living, you guys. Yuck. Babies are not gross. Wanting to have a family is not gross. But making your kids participate in this kind of content does feel yucky to me. This one says, careful who you flirt with. It might lead to something big, with a transition into showing off their large family with tons of kids. Here's one that says, my toxic trait is continuing to add things to my life that depend on me for survival, but he doesn't mind. Again, with the kids on camera participating, lip syncing along to the music. I would just like to know how you explain to your kids the creative direction for these kinds of videos, you know? I guarantee you at least half of these kids don't understand exactly what it is they're participating in, and they will understand one day. At least this next example doesn't involve the kids. This one says, 8 babies together and I'm starting to think he loves me, with her acting out how romantic it is that she's interrupting him washing the dishes so she can climb in the sink and capture his attention. Some of this stuff gives me the worst secondhand embarrassment. I can't cope. Here's a video with each kid coming out of the bus one by one, and it says,
I'm starting to think he loves me. Come on, you gotta get better with the captions. If you gonna monetize off of this, come on, do a little bit better. Get a little bit more creative. That was ugly. Like she said, cringe. I didn't like it. They just all shouldn't be in this bus, period.
why do we have 8 kids? Because we put our love on repeat. Ugh. And finally, I'll stop torturing you with these. Here's the last one.
Okay,
it says, when both of your love languages are quality time and physical touch, you end up with a kajillion kids. We get it. You love each other. You're baby-making machines. That's literally their whole brand, you guys. Day after day after godforsaken day, these parents are posting unsettling videos of their kids dancing and smiling and acting for the camera to reiterate the point that they have this large family that they're forcing to live all together in a bus. Some people may see this account and think, oh, how sweet, what a close-knit family enjoying their time together, traveling the country. Like, what could be so bad about that? But honestly, all I can see when I watch this is that they've made their children the face of their brand, and they're growing their platform at their children's expense. That's my opinion. If they didn't have 8 children that they're forcing to live on a bus, they wouldn't have content. They wouldn't have anywhere near the following or engagement they have right now. The arrival of their 8th baby a couple months ago was an absolute content farm for them. Don't believe me? Look at this. Here's a snapshot of their video views a couple months before their baby was born. They get like a couple 100,000 views on average, which is still a lot. But look at what their view counts did in the final weeks of her pregnancy and surrounding the birth of the baby.
35,
easily breaking 1 million.
35 million? What was that even about? 7 million, 6, that's 35 million. It's crazy.
Views on nearly every single video, sometimes getting as high as 3, 4, 5, 6 million, with this one getting a staggering 35.7 million views. It's no secret what they have to do to keep staying relevant. Keep having babies. If they stop having kids, or if they decide to settle down and live a more traditional lifestyle, their account is done for. American Family Road Trip ceases to exist if they decide to stop living on a bus as a family of 10. And in some ways, I'm sure they feel locked into this lifestyle now, regardless of if it's beneficial to the overall well-being of the family or not. I have approximately 1 million concerns about this living arrangement, the well-being of the children, and the way the social media account is being run and managed by the parents, and that's what prompted me to make this video. But in the interest of fairness, there are a couple things that I do like, and I want to point those out first. Because the purpose of this video is not to hate on this family and everything they do, it's to raise some questions and concerns that I want all of us as the viewers to be considering when we are navigating social media and we're deciding what kinds of creators we want to spend our social media currency on in the form of our views, our engagement, and our support. It's important to not take these videos at face value and just think, oh, what a cute, happy family, but also consider what's going on behind the scenes and what has to happen to make this kind of content possible. But this account is not all bad, and I think it's fair to say that right up front. Number one, they clearly have a huge focus and priority on family, and I think that's amazing. Spending quality time together, building relationships between siblings, that kind of thing. Number two, I can see how the idea of living smaller and simpler would be enticing to some people. I don't know that we need to...
Not with 8 kids. No, ma'am.
take it to the extreme of a 200 square foot bus for 10 people necessarily, but a lot of what they talk about in their posts is that living smaller is freeing because there's less clutter, there's less stuff, there's less things to manage, and therefore less stress in their lives. I don't think you need a massive house to be happy. I can understand the appeal of wanting to live with less. I do think they take it to the extreme though, which we'll get into. And finally, number 3, another huge pillar of their content obviously is that they're living life on the road and they're traveling and sightseeing constantly. And I think that's great to an extent. There is a lot of value in getting out there and seeing the world and spending time outdoors in beautiful natural settings. After all, if your living quarters are limited to 20 square feet per person, then there's a good chance everyone's getting outside, if for no other reason than to just get some space from their family members, right? At the very least. But some of my most vivid childhood memories are when my mom took me and my brother on a 2-week road trip where we hit Bryce Canyon, Zion, Yellowstone, Mesa Verde, Grand Teton, Arches, and that was such a cool experience. I will say though that 2 weeks felt like plenty for me as a child, but I do think that these kids will have many fond memories to look back on, and I think that's a really cool thing for them to get to experience.
Yeah, fond memories, but a lot of disappointments, disagreements, and just not having a good time. Like, you can't be around that many people, like your siblings, like that all times. And don't they do like homeschooling too? I think she said that in the beginning. This is, I don't know, it's not adequate.
And that's kind of where the list of good things ends for me. If the list of the good things is like this long, then the list of the concerning things is like way down here. There are several aspects of this account that I think we as viewers need to be thinking critically about. I always think it's a good idea to make my intentions clear with videos like this because I can see the comments now. People love to tell me, you're just a hater, you're just jealous, let them live their life, it doesn't affect you, you're being so judgmental. And that's perfectly fine. We're all entitled to our own opinions. This is my opinion. And if you don't agree, that's cool. Feel free to tell me all about it in the comments. But the intent behind this video is not to hate on this family specifically. It's to use their content as an example within the overall lesson of social media literacy and our responsibilities as viewers to question things and to understand the full scope of what it is that we're consuming. Because what's going on here runs a lot deeper than these cutesy little family dance videos, so we need to be thinking about it on a more critical level. Some may be quick to say that it's none of the viewers' business how they live their life, but if they're making a significant amount of money off of their children and off of the lifestyle they're forcing the children to live, then I would argue that it is the viewer's business to understand fully what their viewership is supporting and funding. These are 2 adult influencers who have made it their job to have as many children as possible, cram them into a tiny bus, drag them all around the country, and then make them rehearse and perform in front of a camera every single day so that mom and dad can post it on social media for hundreds of thousands of strangers to consume as content.
Do y'all hear how crazy that sound? I don't know who gave them that idea. Oh, he said he had a spiritual dream or a spiritual awakening. I just can't see. Everybody gotta live their own life. Like, before social media, things like this were going on. Always. Everything's always going on. It's just now that we can see it, we all can have a full opinion about it. It's just, why would you do this? Especially to these young kids. Like, that is going to be so hard on them to, like, maneuver as adults from what you're putting them through now.
It's not hard to understand how that's problematic on at least some level, and we should absolutely be side-eyeing it and asking questions. I keep saying I have a lot of concerns, so let's address those. Let's start at the most basic level of the logistics of having this many people living on a bus. Yeah. Right off the top, I'm sure most people would be concerned about privacy. If we watch this bus tour again in slow motion, you'll see that there's a living room area with a couple couches, and then there's a lofted bed above those. And then as you walk to the back of the bus, there's a little kitchen, a bathroom, and a bunk bedroom in the far back. Part of the caption on this video says our queen bed drops over the couch from the ceiling while the bunkhouse has twin beds for each kid in the back. We wanted them to have permanent beds and space for their stuff. Okay, interesting. Take note of that. We want every kid to have their own permanent bed, they say. Well, take a look at this TikTok video that they posted in 2022 that tells a different story.
Hey, come check out our kids' bunkhouse. Okay, in the back of the bus, we have 6 bunk beds with each of our kids having their own custom favorite blankets and toys. They also have personalized bags with all of their individual toys they can play with. Underneath the bunks, they have group toys like dinosaurs, books, blocks, art supplies, and all of our homeschool curriculums kept in here. Well, that's the bunkhouse.
That back room can clearly only fit 6 twin-sized beds, but you have 8 children. And somebody pointed this out on a recent video in the comments. It says, as far as I can see, there are 6 beds in the bunk room. Where does number 7 sleep? And what's the plan for number 8 when he's big enough? Do you have the 2 little ones with you in your big bed? And then either JD or Brittany reply saying that there are 7 in the bunk room and the baby is in their room in a Moses basket. Okay, but your caption said that there's a twin bed for each kid and there's 7 kids back there but only 6 beds. How does that work? And what's going to happen when all these kids grow bigger and you can't cram 8 of them into 6 twin-sized beds? I found this saved screenshot on the Fundy Snark subreddit again, thank you. But in a Q&A that JD and Brittany did on their Instagram stories 9 months ago, somebody asked, where are all the kids sleeping and is there room for more? And they responded by saying, we have a bunkhouse, 6 twin beds plus the toddler sleeps under our bed in the living room. So now the story is that we've got 6 kids in beds, 1 without a bed and 1 in a bassinet until he outgrows it. Like I said, the screenshot is from 9 months ago, so maybe they have transitioned the toddler into the bunk room and someone in there is sharing a bed with the toddler. But regardless, the sleeping arrangements do not seem safe or comfortable at this point, and it's only going to get worse the older the kids get and the more children that they keep adding. In the same vein of privacy, what happens when everybody's getting changed? Are they all getting dressed in front of one another? Does that make anybody uncomfortable? Are they all waiting in line to use the bathroom one at a time? I doubt it. What happens when you're overstimulated or you're butting heads with your sibling and you just need to retreat to your own space, but there's nowhere to go? What happens when there's a stomach illness that strikes the family and you're all sharing one bathroom? That's what I need to know. The oldest son is a teenager and the only daughter is really close behind. I wonder how they're gonna feel having to share a bed.
She said the only daughter, so they got all, it's like all boys almost? Hold on.
Teenager and the only daughter is really close behind. I wonder how they're gonna feel having to share a bedroom and maybe even beds with their toddler siblings. This is the age where children deserve a little bit more freedom and independence to gain their own footing, and I worry that they're not being given the space, literally, to do that. And more on the logistics of it all, they've got a newborn baby on the bus. They've pretty much always got a newborn baby on the bus, for God's sake. It's normal for newborns to cry multiple times a night, so does that mean that all of the children are getting their sleep disturbed multiple times a night as well? Those of us who are parents know that sleep deprivation sensation so well. Is it morally acceptable to be subjecting your 7 other kids to that experience too? That can't be healthy for them. I'm sure nobody in this family is resting properly. Sure, there's a sliding door that separates the bunk room from the living room where the parents sleep, but it's not soundproof. If there's a baby screaming 10 feet away and the only thing separating you is a lightweight hollow door, you're gonna hear it. Additionally, Brittany gave birth to this newest baby on the bus with no medical care, but with all of her other children there to witness it. You just have to wonder about the age appropriateness of it all. And speaking of which, let's talk about how all these babies are getting made. We're going there. No privacy, no soundproofing, and your house is built on 4 rubber wheels that sway the bus with every movement. Unless the parents are doing the deed outside and risking public indecency, these children are likely witnessing their parents' intimacy in some capacity, and that can be traumatizing, especially the older they get and the more they understand about what's going on. Imagine that you're stuck in a tiny bunk room with all of your siblings while you are sensing, hearing, and feeling the motion of your parents getting it on. How disturbing is that? At what point is this an unfit living arrangement for this many people long term? A summer road trip, sure. A weekend camping trip, absolutely. But raising your kids for the last 4 years in these conditions is highly concerning to me. This commenter sums it up nicely. They say, this would have been my worst nightmare growing up. Full-time living in a shed-sized bus with 10 people, hypersexual parents, and a crying baby. No friends or room to have my own safe space. I can only imagine the trauma from this situation for children. Which leads me to think about it from this perspective. If somebody wants to adopt a child, there's all kinds of standards around the living arrangements that you would be allowed to bring a child home to. If you want to be a foster parent, there's all kinds of living standards you have to uphold. If you operate a daycare, there are rules around how many children you can fit into a certain square footage, as well as having adequate resources like number of cribs and space between the cribs and number of toys per child. Even prisons have regulations around how many square feet of living space each prisoner gets. This living arrangement would not be deemed suitable for an adopted or a fostered child, but somehow it's okay because it's their biological kids. This feels extremely harsh of me to say, but arguably people in prison have more space and privacy than these kids do. Think about that. Continuing on with the logistics of it all, I'm thinking about the health and well-being of these kids. Where do they go for routine medical care? Do they even receive routine medical care? Particularly as infants, they're supposed to have approximately 10 checkups in their first 2 years of life just to ensure that they're healthy and thriving. But if you're on the road 24/7, then you likely don't have a stable pediatrician. And speaking from personal experience, it is a pain to switch pediatricians. I just did that actually. And finding a doctor with availability that can get you in, coordinating the medical.
Heavy on the availability. All these doctors be booked and busy, baby. They be more booked than the damn influencers. Can't never get into the doctor. At least that's where I'm in, St. Louis. What about y'all? Leave it down in the comments.
Medical release forms and faxing over medical records and all the paperwork, and you're calling this office and calling that office and like making sure it's all set. It's such a headache, and I only did it one time with one kid. Now imagine doing that for 8 kids who are all on different checkup schedules and you're in a different state every week. Would you bother with that logistical nightmare? Do you think they're bothering with it? I would bet money that they're not. Especially considering that rather than taking their newborn to a pediatrician to have a checkup after he was born, they took him to a UPS store. They balanced this baby on a UPS parcel scale like a freaking Amazon return. I wish I was kidding, but I'm really not, unfortunately. How do you imagine that conversation went? A family of 10 rolls up in a bus to a UPS store and they're like, hey, can we borrow your scale for a second? We don't believe in going to a doctor. Like, I cannot imagine that these kids are getting proper health care.
Hannah play too much. We don't believe in a doctor. She play too much.
Ultimately, I suppose it's none of our business what the kids' health situations are. I just hope that somehow, some way, the children are getting the medical attention they need when they need it. Amen. Although, based on the fact that they post crap like this, it's highly questionable. And in the same vein, I'm like, do these kids go to school? No, of course they don't. They're homeschooled. Shocker. And let me get one thing clear. I'm not demonizing homeschooling, although I should address my bias that I have a master's degree in elementary education, and I do think that going to school is extremely important for not only cognitive development, but social and emotional as well. While homeschooling is not a choice that I would make, I do know that it can be done effectively. It is right for some families in some situations, and there are benefits as well. I feel like a big argument I see a lot is that the kids are gaining life experiences rather than sitting at a desk all day, that kind of thing, which sure, I can understand that perspective, but my counter argument to that is that there's 180 days in a school year. There's still another 185 days left over to do the traveling and to get out there and see things and to do these life application lessons as well. While homeschooling can be a great setup for some families, I do think that we see influencers taking it to the extreme a little bit. Do you want to homeschool your kids because you truly feel like that's what's best for them? Or does the homeschooling setup just work really nicely with your big family traveling influencer lifestyle? Right. Because now the kids are available to be dragged all across the country for your content. Whenever. This video in particular makes me a little bit wary. It says, what grade am I teaching this year? And then she says 7th, 5th, 3rd, 1st, and kindergarten. When you lay it out like this, I just have to wonder how this kind of education is really possible. One person teaching 5 grade levels at once and eventually 8 grade levels at once is probably not all that effective of an education. And that's not a judgment of her specifically. I don't even know that the most skilled, qualified, certified educator would feel comfortable taking that on. I have my teaching license, and I would never in a million years try to homeschool 8 grade levels at one time. Right. It seems like an impossible thing to do well. And this mom's professional background is in the Air Force Reserves, not in education. Another aspect of this is the kids' social development. If they're on the road all the time and they're not in school, then where do they find the opportunity to socialize with other kids their age? Sure, you might meet other kids throughout your travels at campsites or whatever, but you don't have opportunities to build long-lasting, meaningful friendships with anybody other than their siblings. One of the greatest gifts I have in my life is that I have long-standing childhood friends who have grown alongside me in all of my stages. They know me, they understand me, and that kind of relationship takes years to cultivate. I love and care for them so deeply, and those relationships are so special to me. To think that these kids likely won't get that opportunity makes me heartbroken for them. They're not in school, they're not in clubs, they're not in sports, they don't appear to have their own hobbies, and they don't appear to have pretty much any opportunity to make friends. You have to wonder how that's going to translate into adulthood and their ability to connect with people on a social level. Let's say the kids want to go to college, have an internship, have a professional job, have love interests. I worry that they're not going to have the complex social skills necessary to thrive in those types of settings. How are they going to interact with people who don't think like them, don't look like them, don't share the same beliefs as them? How are they going to navigate conflict, jealousy, disagreement with people outside their family? These are skills that you develop over many years through interacting with diverse humans in the world, and they don't appear to do that, at least not on any regular basis. I would argue that's a disadvantage. And the last piece of the logistics of it all that does feel pretty touchy, but it comes up a lot in the comments on their page, is how many kids is too many kids? How is everyone getting the love and attention they need? I don't feel particularly comfortable speaking to that because I have no idea what it's like.
Like she said, yeah, it's not really nothing we can really touch on, because whatever God blesses them with or whatever they feel is okay, that's what they're going to do. But I will give a slight opinion as far as like being in this bus. It was probably best to limit that to like 2 to 4, and that's pushing it. 8 kids, can y'all fathom that? 8 kids. One of them is a screaming, crying, pissy, shitty newborn. They should have kept that to 2 to 4, but that don't get them the views. The views come from having so many kids.
Like to have this many kids. I have no desire to know what that's like, but I would imagine that logistically it's probably challenging to split your attention and your mental resources in so many different directions. Sure, you might love and adore each of them equally, but it's physically impossible to split yourself into 8 pieces and to tend to every single child's needs 100% of the time. Not to mention leaving time to care for you yourself as the parent.
Now I will say just 8 kids period, like 6 to 8 or even to 10 kids period. It's just up to the parents as far as like if it was like a traditional sense. They got a house, most kids got their own room, or 1 or 2 will share a room. Like that may be fine. Like I'm not speaking to that. I'm speaking to the 8 kids being in this bus. So Miss Hannah is talking about this period. I'm referring to the bus only.
One kid has a dirty diaper, one of them needs a snack, 2 of them are bickering over here, one's digging in the dirt eating worms. Like, at what point are you just spread too thin in the demands of parenthood? I personally do not know the answer to that. Maybe children of large families could comment down below and share your experiences of what that was like, because I genuinely don't know. So I would be really curious to hear how accessible your parents felt to you as one of many children. And I'm trying to be sensitive in the way that I approach this, because ultimately it's nobody's business other than theirs how many kids they decide to have. And I know there's going to be people who comment saying, how dare you comment on their family size? Children are a blessing, the more the merrier, that kind of thing. But a concern of many of the viewers that I see in their comments is like, when do you cross the line of growing your family because you want to now growing your family because it's your brand? Yeah. Because the videos you post of your brand new baby get 2 to 3 times the views as your regular content. This is a really harsh point to raise, I realize, and I'm not trying to talk about big families negatively, but people are really starting to wonder how much farther they're going to take this whole baby making on a bus brand, coming from a place of concern for the kids. One commenter says, why do the people that always want 500 kids decide to live in a sardine can? This has 22,000 likes on it. People are starting to grow concerned. How many kids are you going to try and fit on this bus and parade around the country for content before the well-being of the whole family starts to suffer? Has it already suffered? Would you acknowledge that it's suffering if it was? Or would you ignore it and push on because this is your job now? Because at this point, your entire brand is based around the fact that you make monetized content around having 1 million kids living on a bus. So having more kids is only going to feed that content and that income, right? And that leads perfectly into the next section of this video, all about how the heck do these people make money? Because this is not a cheap lifestyle by any means. And they're always on the move, living in different places. So what is your job? Where's the money coming from? And the answer is they won't tell us. Viewers ask this question all the time in their comments, and they're their answer is always infuriatingly vague. This person asked, how can you afford this lifestyle? And they responded saying, we are entrepreneurs, business owners, and we work. Okay, but that doesn't answer the question. There's a lot of people out there that call themselves entrepreneurs and business owners, and we know that that's not always true. Trading crypto doesn't make you an entrepreneur, and being stuck in a multi-level marketing scheme doesn't mean you're a business owner. So those kinds of terms get thrown around all the time that I feel like they're losing meaning. Another commenter says, I think a more in-depth answer would be helpful for those of us who desire what you've done, but we don't see how we can transition to it without working a 9-to-5. And JD and Brittany respond by saying, honestly, the way we afford to full-time travel can't be replicated for others. Oh, is that because you built a social media brand around your 8 children and that's not something that most families have? We spent years working in our businesses before we could hire out the positions and travel. The more kids we have, the more we look for other options as well. It's a lot of trusting God to provide while working hard and taking risks on opportunities. Again, completely avoiding answering the question. They also love to post clickbaity content where they act like they're gonna answer the financial question, but then they never actually get around to answering it. This reel says, how do you afford to have a big family? And the first line says, let's talk money. And then she goes on to talk about a whole bunch of nothingness and says, quote, at this point we have started, run, and sold numerous businesses, dodging the question once again. And I can see how people might be like, their finances are none of your business. Okay, sure, I get that. But there's people like me who primarily want to know what their main source of income is because I have a hunch that's coming off of their social media content surrounding their kids. Do the babies pay the bills? Because if so, that's not acceptable and not something worth supporting, in my opinion. I fear that they are being intentionally vague because if they come right out and say, oh, we make a crap ton of money off of these videos of our kids, then they would lose a lot of support, rightfully so. So best to just not address the income question if possible. I feel like that's their approach with this. There was this comment on a post that I found that says, we're entrepreneurs. We currently own a couple of businesses, one in finance and one in insurance. Both can be done from the road, but we are on the hunt to buy something a bit more stationary. Okay, so now we're getting somewhere. With a bit of digging, I found JD's LinkedIn profile, which says that he is an independent insurance adjuster, which is someone whose job is to review assets and the circumstances surrounding an insurance claim to determine accountability and damages. Okay, so I suppose that's something that you could do remotely most of the time. But then his LinkedIn also says SatSaver, which is how I discovered that this is JD's new startup company, which is apparently a product designed to keep your cryptocurrency secure. It's literally a little kit with a booklet, some code words, and a Sharpie, and it's meant to help you write down your crypto seed words in a secure way. So that's what we know about JD's 2 jobs, and those are probably what they were referring to when they said that they have 2 businesses, one in insurance and one in finance. Tell me why I'm not shocked whatsoever that JD is involved in crypto. For some reason, that's exactly the kind of job I expected him to have, if any. And then I started thinking, dang, all a crypto guy needs is an MLM boss babe wife to complete this whole picture. And I'll be damned. Brittany is in not 1, but 2 multi-level marketing companies, you guys, at least that I know of. With some more digging, I found that in 2021, they created a very short-lived Instagram account called American Family Health, dedicated to promoting Neolife supplements. Neolife is one of those MLM scams where you have to recruit an endless chain of more reps in order to make any money. If you weren't aware, that's the genre that I post about the most on my channel. I do a lot of anti-MLM content, educating about how those are scams and how you should stay away from them. They don't post on this account anymore, but their Neolife link is still active. They are still promoters for this company. The MLMs don't end there though. These days they've moved on to actively shilling Modere, which, side note, I would like to have some choice words with whoever designed this Modere packaging because it is 100% looking like they're drinking shampoo. This is a terrible design. I actually saw somebody on the Funny Snark subreddit compare this to a Paul Mitchell shampoo bottle and
probably look like skincare bottle or like she said, shampoo or conditioner or something. That's so weird. I've never seen that.
Truly, nothing more accurate has ever been said. If you click the link in the bio of the American Family Road Trip account, it takes you to a pre-filled cart with $350 worth of Modere products, and Brittany is listed as the Modere rep making a commission when you purchase it. Is anyone shocked that Brittany's in an MLM? Show of hands. Anybody? Anybody? No? Didn't think so. MLMs are notorious for appealing to people for being a job that you can take with you anywhere and you can work it in the pockets of time. And I put job in quotations because most people who join these schemes lose money. It's not actually an effective way to make money, so serving as a job is kind of silly. But the moment I saw this account, I was like, she's gotta be in an MLM, right? Of course she is. And then to add to the income streams, they make money like influencers do too. They get paid per views on their content. They share products with commissionable links. I wouldn't be surprised if they've done sponsorships in the past or if they do them in the future. And that kind of thing can be extremely lucrative for a following of this size.
Yeah.
Over 500,000 people follow this account. Their reels regularly reach millions of views. I can't imagine that they would be this active on social media and posting this religiously every single day if there wasn't a significant amount of money attached to it. They're treating it like a job at this point, so I think it's safe to say that it's paying like one.
Especially when they posting every day, like when she was going through the dates that they were posted at the beginning, like they posting all the time. When you post that much and you got that many views on every video, like that's good money.
I'm glad to hear that they do have some non-social media related income streams, but I would not be surprised if Instagram is their cash cow. And that kind of leads me into the connection of the overall van life social media trend. This American Family Road Trip account is one of hundreds, maybe even thousands of influencers who have made it their whole brand to live this nomadic lifestyle and travel the country. This is one of the more questionable and concerning accounts I've seen for sure, but this lifestyle is not unique to them. Searching hashtag van life gives you millions of results of beautiful people living beautiful lives on the road, always posed happily in front of gorgeous national treasures. And in a way, they're almost cosplaying people who are experiencing homelessness. They're living in their cars, they're always on the move, but it's out of choice, not out of necessity. So what I want to make clear is that living this influencer van life lifestyle is actually quite a privilege. It's not cheap by any means. You have significant expenses living this way. I mean, just think about the startup cost of retrofitting a van or a bus to be a house. Like, unless you've got some kind of job that travels with you and doesn't require internet or cell service at least part of the time, then this kind of lifestyle is not accessible to you. The average person can't be like, I'm just gonna go get in my van and hit the road and never come back. That is unless you build a following around it and you turn the documentation of the lifestyle into the way that you fund the lifestyle. This is not a life that most people could live if they don't have that social media stream of income, which is why we see so many influencers doing it. And hey, it's actually pretty dang smart. If you want to create this idyllic lifestyle for yourself and you can fund that through documentation on social media, then do it. More power to you. But the lines of ethics and morals start to blur when you're now involving your many children in this lifestyle choice.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, I don't see anything wrong with the van life. I think it's honestly a great way to make money. Like, as an influencer, just, traveling the world and being like in your own space, like in the van, and making money that way with like sponsorships and stuff. I believe that's a great way to make money. I know what she means when she mentions like some people are forced to do this out of homelessness and stuff, but why not make a bag off of it if you have the means to do so? So I sort of agree with like that being a good way to make money as an influencer. But again, with these 8 kids, stop playing with me. Get out my face. 8.
This is 2 parents who have imposed this lifestyle on their 8 children and counting who don't really get a say at all. And they can't fully consent to what it is that they're being filmed to do. Arguably, without the children, this account would not be as popular as it is because that is the piece of it that's helping them stand out amongst the rest of the van life influencers. That's what makes their videos so shocking and jarring, and that's what gets them views. As we saw earlier, this is evident by the spike in views that they see every time they add a new baby to the bus. And we as the viewers have the right to wonder, is this in the best interest of the kids? Or are the kids being required to live this way to uphold a certain social media image that brings the parents wealth and internet fame? That's everything I have for this video, but I will leave you with this because this has got to be one of the most powerful comments I've ever read before. I'm convinced that this is going to stick with me forever. Earlier this year, JD and Brittany made this post that says, I want to raise kids who look up at the sky and not down at screens. None of my kids have a phone. None of them them have their own tablets or computers, none of them own a screen. It's not my job to entertain them. It's their job to entertain themselves. Did you know that the current screen time recommendations for kids 2 to 18 years is only 1 to 2 hours a day? That's tablets, computers, phones, and television. That's the goal, to use screens as a tool, not a crutch to parenting. This entire post is meant to demonize screens, to shame parents who use them, and to make themselves feel like parent of the year because they don't give their kids screens. This commenter says, your children are not on screens, but they are on ours very often. I'm not sure what would damage them more. And on that note, that's everything I have for you for today's video. Please continue to think critically about what you consume and support online.
Man, that's crazy. But yeah, I think that was another one of her interesting videos as far as the Influencer Insanity series. If y'all want to check out the other ones with me, I will rewatch them. They were good because like these influencers are getting out of hand. Like I've really been keeping up with this series. It's so good. I will leave the original video down in the comments if you wanted to check out the other ones on your own. But I did enjoy this one. I really hate that for them kids. I really hope they doing like necessary therapy sessions or really allowing them to socialize, like, you know, like going out to parks and stuff. It's not like no real in-depth complex relationships if they're just traveling all over the world. And yeah, I know in the beginning I was like, maybe they just live in a house and they just go out on this bus every once in a while, but she said they go into all these different states and stuff, so they could potentially, I feel it. It's still alleged in my head, but they possibly are just living on this van, just going everywhere and having their kids listening to them have all the time so they can I say that? Listen, having their kids listening to them make more kids since they all live in the same room, basically, just so they can keep making this money off of this lifestyle. And I think that is so unfair to them kids. I hate that for them. But if y'all like the video, be sure to leave a like on the video. Let me know what else y'all would like for me to react to down in the comments. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.